Alright y'all, welcome back to Broken Letter Sports Gaming. Today we have another awesome video lined up. If you read the title, you know what we're doing here today. A while back, I tried to complete a season shutting out every opponent on the way to a World Series championship. We didn't quite get there and I was upset. The game cheesed us out of greatness and it seemed unfair. Well, I decided to run it back. I wanted to up the ante a bit too. In the first attempt, our home field was sandy flats. This time I chose dirt yards, a trickier stadium, but one with a deep outfield and a tall wall in right. I also decided against using generic kids and Mr. Clanky because I wanted to involve more offensive and defensive strategy into the challenge. In fact, I didn't take any kids from the first attempt. Barry Bonds was my first pick. I put him at third base because of his 95 throw power and solid glove. I figured nothing would get past him at the hot corner. Next, I took Larry Walker to play right field. His 98 vision and elite arm are a good fit there. Barry Larkin was my shortstop. He's quick with a good glove and strong enough arm for routine grounders. Raul Mondesi would play catcher. With 100 throw power and 87 speed, I thought we could get rid of bunt base hits and steals pretty easily. I put Vicky Kawaguchi in center field because of her 100 vision, 100 glove, and great speed. She can't hit, but she can track down anything on defense, and if she doesn't have to throw it back in, she's the best defensive outfielder in the game. Jason Giambi would slide in at first base. His 100 glove and elite game sense should take care of easy putouts without much fuss. I put Nomar Garcia Parra in left field because his vision is good enough and he fields well with a decent arm. Cal Ripken Jr. is the perfect second baseman. He doesn't make defensive mistakes and has a fine arm. Lastly, I chose Curt Schilling to pitch. Randy Johnson crossed my mind, but he can't control a slow ball. Curt is faster, fields significantly better, and has a more balanced pitch arsenal. I was going to have to generate a ton of soft contact throughout the season, and Randy's heater just wasn't the best option. So that was the squad. Everybody was feeling good for our season opener against the Brewers, so I didn't have to switch any positions. Outside of a boosted Davey Marion, Courtney Valentino, and of course Julie Dunkel, our opponent didn't scare me too much. Courtney sent a ground ball through the middle in the top of the first, but made a silly base running error and was thrown out retreating to first. Julie reached on an uncharacteristic drop from Cal, but was easily thrown out trying to steal second to close the first half inning of the season. In the bottom half, Raul picked up our first RBI, driving in Bonds on a liner to right field. Giambi sent one to the same spot to score Larkin and Mondesi for runs 2 and 3, and we were comfortably in front early. In the fourth, Courtney ran herself into an out again, and Curt struck out Julie on a disgusting slow ball down and in. Nomar took the aluminum power bat to a Davey Marion left hook in the bottom of the inning for a nearly 800-foot, 3-run moon ball, and Bonds hit the left center gap for an inside-the-park score to bring our total to 7. The Brewers got runners to first and second in the fifth, but Jeremy Burnitz hit an infield fly, Ezra struck out on a slow ball low and away, and Heidi Thurman grounded out to the pitcher. Jerry Mahoney reached base to lead off the top of the sixth, but Maria Luna lined into a cheeky double play and we were 1 out away. Curt opted for an 0-1 big freeze to Courtney, which she bunted right back to him, barely grounding out to end the game. The next batter would have been Julie with a power-up, which would have been a complete disaster, but we got through game 1 by the skin of our teeth. It was already clear that there was going to be significantly more base traffic for this attempt, but our defense was looking confident early. For Game 2, we hit the road to take on the Cubs at Steel Stadium. No one was feeling terrible for us, and the 2, 3, and 4 hitters for the Cubs were pretty stacked, but if we could keep the ball on the ground, we knew we had a solid chance. Barry drove in Barry with an unconventional sac fly to open the scoring in the first inning. In the bottom half, Lorelei and Sammy made Curt's job easy when they both bunted for routine 1-3 putouts. Vicky then foolishly ran on Sosa in the second, breaking our cardinal rule against offensive double plays, and put Curt in a tough position. He would have to be nearly perfect going forward, as the computer usually hits a power-up as soon as they get a base runner. Later that inning, Libby Futterman tested Vicky on the first pitch seesaw, but came up short of the shortest porch in the game. In the third, Nancy Chin flew another one out just in front of the shed and things were getting a bit spicy. Lorelei and Sammy gave us 2 more gifts in the fourth with a pop out and another inexplicable bunt out, and we were starting to taste victory. Libby whiffed in the fifth before Vicky made a great play to keep Jordan Thorder off the bases. Wendy Parsons popped out, and there were 3 more outs to get. Sammy helped Jason pick up an RBI in the sixth, and we went into the final half inning up by 2. Nancy waved at a left hook for the first out. Randolph Gluckert then delivered the cheese, albeit an inning late, with a soft grounder to second base that every melon had misplayed. Curt's throw bonked off Jason's head, and Randolph was aboard, giving us almost no room for error going forward. An 0-2 big freeze was no match for Chandler Huggins' crazy bunt, and the defense lost their minds. But luckily, the Cubs' base runners were too slow to make anything of it. 2 on and 1 out. They must have only gotten one crazy bunt, as Kurt blew Ricky away with a heater for out number 2. Down to their last out, Lorelei hit a ground ball to short, and though Barry and Cal certainly made it interesting, they managed to get the force play at second. We gladly took a 2-hit, 2-0 win and went on our merry way. Thanks, Sammy. We met the Astros at Tin Can Alley for Game 3. Again, no boosts or nerfs for our squad, which was rough because we were facing a juggernaut. Lance, Parker, Jeff, Tanya, Fabian, Lindsay, and Jane can all mash, and all it would take would be one bomb to end us. It was clear that once again the Astros were trying to rig the game. We jumped ahead early on a blasted 2-run double from Raul, scoring the Berries. In their half of the inning, Lindsay pounded one into the asphalt for a single, and the cheese was already on, but Kurt froze Jane, and Lindsay, looking somewhat slow in this game, got caught trying to steal on Raul. In the second, Tanya got herself to second with an absolute Little League double, but Jeff and Lance watched 2 third strikes to end the inning. Raul then picked up 3 more RBIs with a glitchy truck homer in the third, and another with a double in the fourth. In the bottom of the inning, Jane and Lindsay got to first and second with no outs, but Fabian struck out, Tanya lined out, and Lindsay got caught stealing again to squander the opportunity. We loaded the bases for Larry, Barry, and Raul in the fifth, and they all delivered RBI base hits. Cal gave us our second truck homer, a 2-run shot, and Barry scored off an error before Raul got 2 more RBIs to put us up 14 going into the final half inning. Annie doubled with 1 out to bring up Lindsay, who hit a comebacker to Kurt that nearly ended the game. No matter, Jane looked at strike 3 and we escaped with another uncomfortable shutout win. The final game of our opening road trip brought us to Cement Gardens to play the Brewers again, and neither team had any real increases this time. With 2 on and 2 out in the bottom of the first, Barry made a heads-up play to Barry on a Courtney Valentino grounder to close the inning. Courtney then gifted us a run in the third, scoring Raul on what should have been a can of corn. In the bottom of that inning, Wally tried to bunt Davey to third, but Kurt was too quick and nabbed Davey before Julie grounded out to Jason at first. Another error from Courtney scored Cal from third in the top of the fourth and doubled our lead. Cal then destroyed a 2-out, center-cut slow ball for a solo shot in the fifth. With 3 outs to get, Davey, Wally, and Julie were due up. Davey flew out deep to Vicky, who was quickly becoming a true stalwart in center field. Wally then grounded out to Barry at third, and Julie stepped up as the last hope for the Brewers. She was nearly awarded third base on a throw out of play, but graciously stopped at second, though they saved their best for last. Jerry Mahoney, feeling pretty good that day, laced a screaming line drive off the wall and right, but Larry Walker played it brilliantly and nabbed Jerry at first with a laser beam, catching him easily and putting another shaky game to bed. This challenge was certainly not getting any easier. We returned home for Game 5 to finish our season series against the Cubs, and Raul was absolutely feeling it that day, with a full batting and running boost and 2 extra points in fielding. For our opponents, everybody was having a normal day. Nothing happened until the second when Wendy Parsons ripped a 2-out frozen rope to left field, and Nomar made the catch of the season to that point, robbing Wendy of extra bases and maybe even a challenge-killing homer. In the bottom half of that same inning, Nomar contributed on the base pass as well, stealing home on an ill-advised throw to second, and we went up by a run. In the third, Jason bounced one over the left field wall to score Vicky and double our lead. Sammy came up to bat with 2 outs in the top of the fourth, and Kurt was running out of energy with no juice in sight. After working a 2-1 count, Sammy lined a shilling slow pitch out to Nomar and left, almost exactly where Wendy did in the second inning, but he put a little more mustard on this one, and Nomar couldn't quite get there for the grab, though he did hold Sammy to a long single. Slugger Libby Futterman came up next, and mild chaos ensued as Barry, Kurt, and Jason all forgot how to field, with Bonds nearly throwing it all away with a downright confusing heave to second that Cal just barely snagged. With 2 outs and runners at the corners, Kurt was on the ropes and we had to shift things around a bit. We brought Bonds and his right hook in to face Jordan Thorner, and after working an impressive full count, Thorner swung through one down and in to close the inning, and we all wiped big drops of sweat off our brows. In our half of the fourth, orange background Raul laced one down the third base line to bring one home, then Jason and Nomar followed suit to get us to 5 runs. Barry had earned us a juice box with his last strikeout, so we put everybody back in their normal positions, but got a little cocky and pitched to Wendy without replenishing Kurt's stamina. She was offended and boomed another one out to Nomar, who did his best and prevented a rulebook double, but was unable to make the catch. Kurt, visibly frustrated but very stubborn, said no to the juice again and struck out Nancy Chin before giving up another fly ball out to center. But Vicky and her glove were there again to make a needless diving catch. On a 2-2 count with 2 outs, Kurt had lost control of his pitches, but was adamant against refreshment and had to be subbed out. Bonds came back in and threw a ball to make the count full before burying a patented right hook low and outside to retire Chandler Huggins and end the inning. In the latter half, Larkin sent one out of bounds and batted in Bonds for run number 6, and Mondesi did the same to score Larkin. Jason lofted a meatball to error-prone Sosa in right field, and Raul scampered home to make it 8-0, but we still had to face the top of their lineup one more time. Ricky rolled over to the pitcher, Lorelei watched strike 3, and we had one more out to get. All we needed was one strike, and Barry secured that right away, so we had Sammy right where we wanted him. Kurt tossed a big freeze high and inside, and Sosa, in a mind-numbing turn of events, bunted himself out to the catcher. 5 games down, and we still hadn't surrendered a run, but the Astros' absurd lineup was coming to town next. Raul was feeling ill for Game 6, but we kept him at catcher, trusting his arm to come through for us. Tanya Uchida was on a heater for the Astros, but that was it for their boosts. Barry Larkin scored our first run easily with a strong rip to dead center that their defense simply could not get back into the infield. Vicky cheesed Raul home on a dribbler to second base, and we ended the first inning up 2-0. Fabian came up in the second and sent the first pitch to the wall and right, but her glacial speed netted her just a single. A fielder's choice put Lindsay at first with Jeff Bagwell coming up and just 1 out for us. He doinked an 0-2 right hook up the first baseline and the race was on. As Lindsay took third base, Jason hit Kurt in the back of the head, knocking Kurt over and giving Felgate the green light to run home. However, the ball couldn't have ricocheted any better, and Giambi connected with the unwell Mondesi to tag Lindsay at the plate and save our season once again. That was by far the closest call yet, and we were pretty shook, but we weren't out of the inning. Respectable slugger Lance Lambert stepped up to the plate and hit a liner to left center that was inches from a ground rule double, but ultimately resulted in a pickle for Jeff that he couldn't escape. No harm done that inning, but the pesky Astros got right back to work their next time up when Perry Marks did the impossible and blasted a center field double over the wall, which actually probably saved us a base. Kurt hit the deck after a Tanya Uchida comebacker, but got up just in time to get the force at second and secure the third out. Mondesi rolled one past short and picked up an RBI in our half of the third. Later that inning, Cal smacked a crazy ball to left with the bases loaded to score Barry Larkin and put us up by 4 runs. The Astros' attempted offensive onslaught continued in the fourth, with a 1-out Callahan wall shot that narrowly missed going over the red fence, and brought Lindsay to the plate with a runner on first. No worries, Lindsay was exhausted from pitching, and grounded into a simple double play to end the inning somewhat comfortably. In our half, Larry cheesed Bonds home for our 5th run, and Larkin obliterated a hanging right hook to dead center for a very legitimate 2-run homer. Raul was having a true flu game that day and hit a low line drive over Jeff's head that took a funky bounce and rolled to the wall, giving Mondesi plenty of time to round third and score an uncontested 8th run. Kurt had a little fun with a bases-clearing crazy bunt double, and we were officially pouring it on thick. Larry scored Kurt with a screamer, Barry scored Barry with a liner, and Vicky screamed another one out to left to pick up a pair of RBIs. For those of you counting at home, that's an 11-run inning. In the next half inning, Vicky extended her insane highlight reel in center with a full-on Willie Mays catch to get Lance out. Nothing else happened before Tanya grounded one to Kurt to complete our massacre. Another shutout victory, but we allowed 7 hits and a bunch of hard contact. That being said, we had gone up against so many great players already in divisional play, and I figured the talent level would have to thin out a bit going forward. We concluded the first half of our season versus the Rockies at Steel Stadium. We were feeling fine, and so were they. In a small park with a very short center field porch, we had to be very wary of Emily Lubel, Zenon Estrada, and Frances Bluer, who all offer a ton of power, but the rest of their lineup seemed relatively harmless. We kicked off the scoring in the top of the first with a lame duck Oppo Taco homer from Larry Walker that came back into the field of play and ended up at just 137 feet. Perhaps my shortest home run ever, but that still counts and we were more than content with it. In the bottom half, we got 2 quick outs and managed to keep Zenon in the yard, though it would have been nice for Vicky to make that catch. Francis then struck out and ended the inning unceremoniously. We turned a cheeky 1-3-6 double play in the third to clear the bases and grab a special hit before striking out Fernando Diaz to end the threat and avoid the Rockies' big 3 coming up to bat with runners on base. Nomar got just underneath the left hook up and in with 2 outs in the 4th, and Cal stranded him on second with a pop out to shallow center field. So we went into the bottom half of the inning still clinging to a 1-0 lead. Emily then struck out on 3 pitches, Zenon grounded out to first, and Francis bounced one back to the mound for a clean 1-2-3 inning, and we could see the finish line. Larry had clearly ordered extra queso for the table this game as he lined one out to left center, and their defense got caught on the corner of the fence, allowing Larry to trot calmly around the bases for an inside-the-park home run. The Rockies put 2 on in the bottom of the 5th, but grounded into another simple double play and came up empty once again. Nomar ripped an RBI groundout in the 6th to bring home Vicky for our 3rd run, and we went into the last frame facing their 9, 1, and 2 hitters. Those hitters could not get anything going as a trio of doinkers ended the game, and we were 1/3 of the way to our eventual goal, with many of the best opposing hitters seemingly out of the way already. Randy Johnson and the Diamondbacks came over to play us in Game 8, and though Raul was once again feeling blue, we kept him at catcher and didn't think twice about it. Luann Louis is fast, and Maya Woodruff can slug, but the rest of their roster was not concerning, and going into the contest we were mostly preoccupied with scoring against Randy. In the top of the 1st, Maya showed her true value and boomed an iffy inside slow ball to the wall in right center, cruising into second base with a 2-out double, but Jose Meisenheimer left her there when he whiffed on a right hook. Jason doubled Vicky in for our first score in the 2nd inning before Cal smacked a 2-run double of his own. Larkin then sent Ripken home with an RBI base hit of his own, and we were up by 4. We loaded the bases for Barry Bonds in the 3rd, and he laced a 2-run double past the second baseman. Larry added 2 more RBIs to his season total, we went up by 8 runs, and it was obvious that our opponents were totally gassed at that point. So long as we could keep the ball on the ground defensively, we were golden. Cal screamed one with the bases juiced in the 4th, scoring Raul and Vicky to give us a double-digit lead. The Diamondbacks' defensive woes continued in the next inning with misplays on Raul and Nomar's rips, awarding them both RBI doubles. Cal hit a cheesy single up the middle to bring home Nomar, and we took a baker's dozen runs into the final half inning. Things got a little hairy when Bonds airmailed a routine throw to first base, but Laura Nunez was unbelievably slow and still got. Luann bunted her way onto first and brought up Maya in a potentially threatening situation, but Maya missed the slow ball and the game ended abruptly in a blowout, with Kurt surrendering just 3 hits and almost no hard contact. Up next, we had the Mets on the road at Ekman Acres. No real boost for us or them other than a cruel Ray Tran nerf that turned him into an automatic out. The meat of their lineup could mash, but nobody was too speedy, and Ekman's huge outfield would surely work in our favor. In the 1st frame, Larkin lined Larry in to open the scoring, and Mondesi massacred a Mandy meatball for 2 more easy runs. In the 2nd inning, Bonds sent one over the fence and brought Cal home. Larkin blooped one off to Mitri to bring Bonds home, and Jason cleared the bases to give us our 6th, 7th, and 8th runs. Vicky barely beat out a force out in the 4th to grab an RBI, and we were rolling offensively yet again. Mandy was up to lead off the bottom of the 5th and laid into a first pitch right hook, sending it to deep left and off of Nomar's dome for what could have easily been a Canseco-esque challenge-killing homer. Alas, she got cocky and got caught in a rundown for the first out. Dimitri committed another act of irrational confidence when he tried to run on Larry, which is always a bad choice. Ray struck out to end the inning and we were 3 outs away. We collected them all quite easily and won by 9 runs, allowing no base runners and completing our first perfect game of the season. 9 games into our attempt, the vibes were very good for the Melonheads. Our 10th game pitted us against a very good Hornets squad back on our home turf. Raul's health was quickly becoming a liability and we had to move him to second base, switching Cal to catcher. The Hornets 1 through 5 hitters all boasted great power and speed, with Keisha Phillips, Leah Wayne, and Ken Griffey Jr. clone Susan Gore leading the way. We knew this was going to be one of our toughest challenges yet. Defensively, we had to keep the ball on the ground and trust our good fielding. Offensively, we had to run Leah's pitch count up early and tire her out, or she would run all over us on the bases. Despite meticulous pitching, Keisha got on via a terrible error in the 1st, and Leah then curiously sack-bunted Keisha to second. Any dropped fly ball would score Keisha and end things, so we had to be super careful with Susan's 100 power in the next at-bat, in which she was a bit antsy and waved very early at a left hook to end the inning and leave Keisha in scoring position. Larry got totally robbed in our half of the inning, but eventually got home for our first run when Keisha dropped a fly ball in left field. Later that inning, Nomar missed a grand slam by a few feet, but did end up with an RBI single on another error by the Hornets defense. When their big bats came up again in the 4th, Keisha flew out to center, Leah struck out looking, and Susan struck out swinging. Barry scored Barry in the bottom of the inning, and Raul sent Larry home off a hard fly ball that Susan couldn't snag. That happened again in the next inning, and Nomar jogged home for our 5th run. 9-1 and 2 were up for our opponents in the 6th, which meant if we could have 1-2-3 inning, we could avoid Leah's big bat. Robbie struck out, but Stan singled and Keisha came up to the plate. Without a double play, we would have to see Leah, or so I thought. On a 1-0 count, Stan broke for second, and even without Raul's rocket arm behind the dish, we still gunned him down just in time. Kurt then went fireball juice fireball to blow Keisha away and finish the game. At this point, we had officially surpassed our results from the first attempt. With 4 games to go in the regular season, we felt great about our chances this time. For game number 11, we were at home facing the Tigers, who brought a respectable lineup to the yard. No boost for us, but Mikey and Mary were under the weather for the Tigers. Their first time up to bat yielded 2 quick outs before Chico Pappas cracked a rulebook double to left center and instantly put a very speedy runner into scoring position. Luckily, Mikey grounded out to Kurt and put the inning to rest. We came to bat, and Dominic Lowe left way too much plate on a first pitch right hook that Bond slapped 385 feet over the short wall in left field. 1 pitch, 1 run. A mighty healthy Mondesi came up 3 batters later and absolutely lost a middle heater over the same wall for another 2 runs. In the second inning, Larkin flew one out to right field, Juan Gonzalez dropped it, and Cal sprinted home for our 4th run. Then another outfield error gave us another run in the form of Larry Walker, and we had 5. Chico came up in the 4th, but he bounced one high in front of the plate and didn't quite make it to first in time, thanks to a shilling rifle that truly showed off his 97 throw power. Mikey then mashed one super deep to the opposite field, but it didn't leave the yard, and Juan flew out to Larry and right. 2 consecutive pitches were crushed, but luckily no runs were yielded, and we had just 6 more outs to collect. Barry Bonds stole home in the bottom of the 4th inning for our 6th run just for funsies, and then nothing happened until the Tigers' final frame, which happened to be a 1-2-3 inning for Kurt. We picked up the shutout victory without too much stress, and there were 3 games left to play in the regular season. Tin Can Alley reared its ugly head yet again for our 12th game against the Devil Rays. We were fine, and their lineup was pretty much trash, but they did have 2 sluggers with 100 power. Pablo Sanchez, the GOAT, the secret weapon, and Jose the Juice Man at the 3 and 4 spots were daunting. All it would take was 1 pop to stop the challenge and send us home unsatisfied once more. Bonds boomed the 3rd pitch he saw down the right field line, and those 2 sluggers just could not figure it out, fighting for just enough time to allow Barry to sneak home with a totally cheesy leadoff homer. Larkin tripled off the trash to bring in Larry for our 2nd score, and Cal weakly grounded a bases-loaded base hit for our 3rd. Pablo came to bat in the 1st, but struck out on 3 pitches, and we all collectively exhaled. Kurt slid a right hook past Jose in the next inning, and we got out of it without surrendering any damage. Later, Larry tagged a 2-run truck shot in the top of the 4th for runs 4 and 5. Another 2-out plate appearance for Pablo ended with a fireball K for Kurt, and we escaped Sanchez once more. The next inning started the same way for Jose, who could only watch another dead center fireball from Schilling. 2 more strikeouts and an infield pop-out in the 6th inning secured the 1-hit win for the Melonheads. After dealing with 2 monster bats in a power hitter's paradise, we had an aura about us that was palpable. We had the shutout season right there in front of us, needing just 12 more zeros to get the job done. In our penultimate contest at home against the Athletics, we had to rotate Larry, Jason, and Cal due to Walker's decreases, which was a real shame because we had to face an unbelievable lineup on a field full of tricky bounces and could definitely have used a stronger arm in right field. The aptly named Athletics ran about 7 deep with power bats and had Angela Del Vecchio on the mound, a polarizing player but arguably one of the best two-way threats in the game. Zena Frome and Fred Benson were especially scary, but thankfully Debbie Nagasawa was having a tough day. Zena did send one pretty far in the first, but Vicky was able to knock it down and hold her to a single. Zena then proceeded to run herself into a needless out after a Fred Benson bomb to right off the wall, and we were out of the inning. Offensively, this team was terrifying, but defensively, they were not. Barry proved this with a leadoff inside the park home run he simply put into play to right field, and quickly we were up 1-0. Nomar then bounced one over the wall and left for a 2-run rulebook double to triple our lead, and Cal copied Nomar to bring in 2 more runs. But the real smash came from Curt Schilling. How about this first pitch absolute nuke to left center by the bad man himself? He only reached second base, but that's probably the hardest I've ever seen him hit something. A harsh punishment for the defense playing short, and a well-earned RBI to bring our total to 6 and a good old first inning bat around. In the top of the 2nd, Angela flew out to Vicky, who made a shaky play in center but secured the 3rd out. In the next inning, the relentless Athletics persisted, with Rafael Hendricks testing Vicky yet again to no avail. Cold Larry hit a cold-blooded 3-run wall scraper in the bottom of that inning, and we went up by 10. The Athletics, now exhausted, tried their best to prevent an inside-the-parker from Cold Larkin, but he jogged around the bases and came home before the ball got back to the infield. Nomar went down the line to his favorite spot in left for a ground rule double, scoring 2 more runners. Zena stepped up in the 4th with a runner on first and clocked an inside slope pitch to dead center and very deep. Vicky ran her heart out trying for an over-the-shoulder web gem, but missed everything. Once again, we were saved by the wall, this time the short one, but we were in very deep trouble. Fred then dribbled one to an awkward spot in the infield, but Kurt nabbed him at first with some top-tier pitcher fielding. Alas, the next batter was Samuel Middleton, who knocked the same pitch back to Schilling, and this time Kurt couldn't handle it. The bases were now loaded, with just 1 out, and nothing short of perfection would save us. Down Debbie then struck out to bring notorious deep ball merchant Angela Del Vecchio to the plate with 2 outs. This was pretty much the challenge right here. Schilling dotted the low inside corner for strike 1, and we were a step closer. Opting for a right hook, he aimed for the same spot and delivered another precision pitch down and in, strike 2. We didn't have any juice, but there was also no tomorrow, and the fireball was our only option. Outside edge, strike 3, and the inning was finally finished. Holy crap. We had to face the Warrior Princess one last time in the 6th, and she lined out sharply to Nomar at left. Kurt got ahead of Benson 1 and 2, and that was the ball game, or so we thought. Kurt fired one in, but just high, and the count went to 2 and 2. But we still had another fireball, and Schilling got this one in the zone to conclude a truly gutsy performance. It was a blowout, but we definitely stole it. The season finale was up next, and we were praying for an easy opponent because that was way, way too close. Our last regular season game was a road contest with the Phillies at Ekman Acres. There were no significant boosts or nerfs for our squad, and our opponents were decent but not too stacked. Sammy Sosa clone Cheryl Reynolds was their most powerful batter, and Nan Porter is a force on the mound, but nobody else worried me. As had become standard practice, we put a run up early with an off-screen Mondesi double to left field, scoring Bonds. Kristen Sullivan smacked a tweener, but Vicky played the ball expertly to keep Kristen at first. Sullivan tried to take second, but got caught. Cheryl did her best to contribute, but she flew out harmlessly to Nomar. Yvonne Carter copied Kristen and got to first on a well-hit single, but she too was gunned down trying to steal on Raul. Larry picked up 2 RBIs in the next half inning with a bomb that barely beat the center field fence, and Nomar smashed a cheesy dinger of his own for 3 more runs. Schilling worked around Cheryl in the bottom of the 4th with a 2-2 big freeze, and we could see the finish line. Nothing eventful happened before the bottom of the 6th, so we had just 3 outs to collect for a perfect regular season. Tony grounded out on a swinging bunt, Arlene grounded out to Barry Bonds, and Chrissy got frozen. We had officially completed a shutout regular season, and we were 2/3 of the way to our goal. 14 games down, 7 playoff matchups to go, and there was great reason to celebrate. Despite surrendering far more hard contact than in our first attempt, our staunch defense had held strong and got the job done. I was so proud of those guys, but tougher games were on the horizon. Raul Mondesi took home the Offensive MVP award with a fantastic .692 batting average, slugging .113 and swiping 14 bags, all top marks for the Melonheads. Our defensive MVP was obviously Curt Schilling, because who else could it possibly be? He had more strikeouts than innings pitched, an absurd whip of .66, and most importantly, no earned runs. What a stud. We drew the Expos in the divisional series and played the first game at home as we were the top seed. Cal definitely had a hangover for this one as he was totally cooked, but we kept him at second and hoped for the best. The Expos had a few solid clones in Don Cozart and Barbara Jones. They also had Vladimir, Ernie, and speedster Grace Tipton on the mound, but no real boosts or decreases for this contest. We didn't score until the second inning with Larry leaving one at the base of the wall and driving in Nomar. Barry then sent Barry home with a double to left field, and Raul went to the same spot to pick up 2 more RBIs and bring our total to 4. In the third, Larry crushed a heater directly at Dawn, but she dropped an easy third out and 2 more runs came in. The game didn't get exciting until the last inning, when Barbara slapped a tricky liner past Barry Larkin and into left field. Nomar's throw went astray and Barbara ended up on third with no outs. Once again, we found ourselves in a spot where hard contact was not an option. No worries, Gail lined softly back to Kurt for out number 1, and Vanna did a similar thing for out number 2. The Expos' last hope was Sheila Basanti, but she got roasted by a foul ball, and we got through our first playoff game without much fuss. We now just needed 6 more shutouts for a successful completion of the challenge. Game 2 was on the road at Steel Stadium, and right away we were up against it with Cal and Larry both completely nerfed. We were able to hide Walker in the nearly non-existent center field, but once again kept Cal at second base and prayed for nothing to be hit his way. Ernie had a pretty big fielding decrease, but his height at first base would surely still keep him effective on defense. Up first, we scored a casual 2 quick runs in the opening frame with a Larkin long ball to dead center. Couldn't stretch the lead any further until the 4th, when Bonds drove in Nomar from third on a base hit to left. Those ended up being the only 3 runs we scored. Despite racking up an impressive 15 total hits, we left a lot of runners on base and simply could not capitalize on anything. Nonetheless, we made it safely to the last frame without a defensive blemish, and Kurt worked through an easy 1-2-3 inning to send us to the NLCS. He ended the game with an incredible 10 total strikeouts and just narrowly completed what I call a half Maddox, meaning he pitched a complete game shutout with just 50 pitches thrown. Truly a memorable performance on the mound. So the series was pretty much a breeze, but I knew things were going to get tough in the next round. For the league championship series, we matched up with the Hornets, a team we had faced during the regular season and beat 5-0, though certainly not without some stressful situations. Larry had fully recovered from his illness and was on fire for this game, with fully boosted power, speed, and fielding. Barry Larkin was not so lucky, down so bad we had to stick him at first base for fear of costly errors in the field. Their team was unboosted but still very dangerous, especially in the relatively small big city stadium, so we had to be meticulous with their top 5 hitters. The action kicked off right away on a Stan Olafson double that Vicky misplayed in center. 2 pitches thrown, no outs, and a runner in scoring position was not the first inning we had in mind. Then, on the next pitch, by the grace of God, Keisha bounced one to Jason at short, and though Bonds nearly screwed us over, he got back to the bag to nab the lead runner and get our first out. Leah Wayne came up next, and despite her measly 125 average in the first round, we knew she was a bona fide offensive threat. Keisha helped us a ton by running on Raul, which never works, to get us our second out. Wayne proceeded to work a full count before ripping an inside slow ball down the third base line for what became a triple, and the heat was right back on. Susan Gore then stepped up to the plate with trouble on her mind, but eventually walked sadly back to the dugout after striking out on 3 pitches down and away. Another great escape for Schilling. In our half of the inning, a sickly Barry Larkin dumped one into left field past Keisha and drove in a red-hot Larry Walker for our first run. Later, Giambi tore into a slow pitch to dead center and scored Raul from second for another run. Vicky was tested in the next inning by a Lena line drive and failed to catch it, but we only surrendered a double. Chaos ensued with 2 outs in the inning as Murray Goldman tried to kill Barry Bonds, only for Bonds to get back up and torch a throw to first in time to nab Goldman for the 3rd out. The crowd was loving it. Vicky's defensive woes continued in the 3rd with another costly error, this time giving up a leadoff double to the Hornets' worst hitter in Robbie Bacco. Stan lined out, Keisha struck out, and Leah came up with another golden 2-out opportunity, but Kurt refused to fold under the pressure. A right hook and 2 big freezes got us out of the inning, but we were understandably rattled. In the bottom of the 4th, Gore gifted us a run as Kurt hustled home on what should have been a routine fly ball to center. Nothing happened until the 6th, when we had to get Leah out one more time, and all I can say is God bless the big freeze. That was about all Kurt could muster, and we had to turn to Bonds once again for the last 2 outs. He blew away Susan with a fireball for her 3rd strikeout of the game and quickly got ahead of Liz Kinghorn 0-2, but we were not fooling around on strike 3. With 1 more strike to land, we brought in Nomar for his first pitch of the season, and he did not disappoint. Another middle big freeze was our ticket off the field, and we finished the game with a satisfying 3-0 victory, with 1 more game sitting between us and the World Series. We entered Game 2 confident but cautious. Nomar was feeling very fast, but Cal was once again lacking in the fielding department, and the Hornets had no boosts or decreases. A first inning, bases-loaded blunder gave Jason 2 RBIs and an eventual double, and we were, as usual, on the board early. Nomar knocked another one off the right fielder to bring in Raul, and Cal looped a lazy pop-up to shallow right that dropped in to score our 4th run. In the 2nd, another rough 2-out error for the Hornets allowed Bonds to reach home and give us another run. In the 4th inning, Jason sent Barry Larkin in on yet another 2-out mistake, this time on an errant throw home. In the bottom of that inning, with 1 out, Kurt badly misplayed a bouncer back to the mound and put Keisha on to bring Leah up. There was no room for nonsense, and Schilling got ahead of Wayne 1-2 on a big freeze, looking for his 6th strikeout. He then reared back and hurled a tried-and-true fireball down the middle, and when I tell you I've never seen something happen in this game before, that should really mean something. Leah Wayne, by the grace of the Lord himself, caught up to what I believed was the only unhittable pitch in the game, and well, she didn't miss. Never in my 2+ decades of playing backyard baseball had I ever witnessed anyone make contact with a fireball, but it happened. Your eyes do not deceive you, and the crowd was as stunned as I was. We got absolutely cheesed out of the challenge, and the humongous Melonheads held back heavy tears as Keisha and Leah rounded the bases in silence. What a disaster. I obviously wasn't going to stop the season at that point, and we still had to finish the game and win the World Series. In the 5th, Leah, who had to be mocking us, dropped another routine fly ball to score Barry Bonds, and we went up 7-2. Down to the final out of the game, Leah nearly bunted Stanholm for another run, but Barry scooped it up to nab her at first and finish things. We were on to the World Series, and I was damn proud of our squad, albeit entirely devastated and still somewhat in shock. It was only fitting that we had to face the Athletics in the World Series, as they were by far the deepest team we played in the regular season. Larry was on a heater and Raul left his bat at Big City Stadium, but we were mostly fine. With Melissa Waters fully boosted in batting, that meant that every Athletics player but one had a 9 or 10 hit rating for Game 1 of the series, which was ridiculous. In the 1st, Larry scored Barry on a rip to right field and we jumped ahead. Then Nomar foiled a corkscrew and Cal ran out a single to give us 2 more runs. Later, Larry, absolutely angry about blowing the challenge, clocked a dead center heater to right center for a 2-run dong in the 2nd inning, after which Nomar dropped a 2 RBI base hit in front of Angela Del Vecchio and we were up by a healthy 7 runs. In the 3rd, Larry was still on a mission and hit a fantastic inside the park dinger complete with a ridiculous slide at home to bring our total to 8. Bonds boomed one to right in the 5th for a 9th run, and Raul earned himself an unconventional sac fly later that inning for a 10th, and that was it. You may have noticed that I didn't include any Athletics highlights in this game, and that's because when I tell you they had nothing going, I mean it sincerely. Kurt tossed another half-Maddox with 7 Ks and absolutely turned the lights out in the Super Colossal Dome. A strong bounce-back performance in Game 1, and there were 2 more to go. Larry and Cal were blue for Game 2, but not concerningly so. For our opponents, Angela was nerfed to the point that they had to move her off the mound to second base, which was an interesting spot to put one of the worst fielders in the league, but we weren't complaining. She was tested immediately by Bonds when she couldn't get a relay throw in fast enough and he scored a leadoff inside the Parker. The other Barry kept that same energy and got the same result 2 batters later, stretching our first inning lead to 3 with no outs. Jason then doubled Vicky in from second base and we had 4 scores. A 3rd inning bases loaded Larkin line drive gave us another run and Raul added 2 RBIs to his total 2 pitches later. We scored again in the top of the 5th with a Jason base knock to right field and a Nomar liner to left, brought in another 2 runs to increase the lead to double digits. Later in the inning, Kurt provided a cheesy single for another score. Nomar followed suit in the 6th and we had a solid dozen. The game ended sooner after with Kurt once again delivering a stellar outing, this time racking up 6 strikeouts en route to another half-Maddox, needing only 44 pitches to shut down the opposing offense. He was somehow becoming more dominant under pressure, and oh how I wish we had gotten that fireball past Leah Wayne. True nightmare fuel. Then it was on to Game 3, which we expected to be our last. Angela was feeling dangerous, but everyone else was normal, save for Samuel Middleton at short with a fielding decrease, which was an interesting decision by the Athletics coaching staff. Petra slapped Kurt's first offering to Vicky in center, who had left all her fielding chops in the regular season, and dropped the fly ball. No matter, Fred lined the next pitch to Kurt for an easy, cheesy double play, and Zena grounded out to end the inning without dealing any damage. In our half of the inning, Raul cracked a 2-out full-count round tripper off a meaty Del Vecchio slow ball for our first 2 runs. Vicky then scored from first on a lofted base hit from Jason, and we finished the opening frame up by 3. 2 more lucky Jason RBIs in the 2nd gave us a 5-run lead, after which Nomar doinked one off Samuel at short to make it an even half dozen. Barry Boomstick belted one over the right field wall in the 3rd to give us our 8th run, and he doubled Cal home in the 4th for the 9th score. Barry Larkin, cold as he was, led off our last offensive half inning with a 400-foot bomb to left before Nomar drove in our 11th and final run with a loopy single to center. Then Terry grounded out, Raphael lined out, and Petra whiffed to end the game, the series, and the season. Kurt Schilling was positively untouchable in this series, throwing 3 consecutive half-Maddoxes of 50, 44, and 39 pitches. So there you have it, kind of. Offensively, we were dominant in the postseason. MVP honors were awarded to Barry Bonds for his totally ludicrous .821 batting average, .135 slugging percentage, and 10 total bases. The other Barry was nearly as productive, with a .777 average, .118 slug, and 9 steals. However, The real story, for better or worse, was, of course, our pitching. Barry Bonds, Nomar Garciaparra, and Curt Schilling in 7 games combined for 51 strikeouts in 40 innings, a whip of .53, and an ERA of .30, with the only 2 runs surrendered off a fireball. Disheartening to say the least, but still a truly magnificent accomplishment. I guess the question is, did we do it? Did we pitch a perfect season? I mean, no, we didn't, but could we have gotten any closer? Probably not. Going into the first attempt, I was keen and green, and though we gave up runs in both the regular season and the playoffs, the challenge seemed possible. After this attempt, I'm not so optimistic. I mean, it's conceivable mathematically, but the computer clearly does not want to be shut out for 21 straight games. I'm not sure if or when I'll give this one more go, and I do have some ideas for attempt number 3, but I might just not have it in me. We will see. Give this challenge a try for yourself and let me know how y'all do. In the meantime, I have more backyard sports content on the horizon and I look forward to sharing it with you guys. But anyway, that'll be the challenge. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.